Nobody plans to fall apart. Nobody wakes up one morning and says, "Today I'll lose my marriage, my home, and my sense of self all at once." But life doesn't wait for your permission. Sophia was 32, two kids under 7, a divorce that left her with debt she didn't create, and a silence in the house so loud it kept her up at night. She used to be the woman with the plan, the one who had it together. Now she was sleeping on her mother's couch, pretending to be okay for two little people who needed her to be. This is where her real story begins. The hardest part wasn't the money. It wasn't even the loneliness. It was the shame. The voice that said, "You should have seen this coming. You should have done better. You should have been stronger." Sophia carried that voice everywhere, in the grocery store counting pennies, in the school pickup line, hoping no one asked how things were going, in the bathroom mirror after the kids were asleep, finally letting herself cry. But here's the thing about shame. It lies. It tells you that you are the problem, when really you've just been carrying too much for too long with too little help. It was a Tuesday. Nothing special about it. Sophia was filling out job applications, her 14th that month, when her 7-year-old Camila climbed onto the chair beside her and said, "Mama, what are you making?" Sophia paused. She looked at her daughter's face completely open, completely trusting, and said, "A future, baby." And for the first time in months, she believed it. Not because anything had changed, but because she said it out loud. And sometimes that's all it takes to say the thing out loud and decide to make it true. Sophia had a gift she'd been told wasn't practical. She could cook. Not just cook, create. Flavors that made people go quiet in the best possible way. Her mother's kitchen had always been the center of the universe, so while her kids slept, she started. Small batches of homemade sauces. A neighbor tried one and ordered 3 more, then a coworker, then a coworker's sister. She wasn't sleeping much, but for the first time in a long time, she was building something. And there is no feeling in the world like building something with your own hands. 4 months in, she hit the wall. A health inspector flagged her home kitchen. She couldn't sell commercially without a licensed space. The small business loan she applied for was denied. Her car broke down the same week. She sat in the parking lot of an auto shop, 2 kids in the back seat, and she laughed. Not because it was funny, because sometimes the universe stacks everything against you so perfectly that the only reasonable response is to laugh, and then to breathe, and then to ask, "Okay, what's the next move?" Here's what proud people forget. You cannot do everything alone, and asking for help is not weakness, it is strategy. Sophia swallowed her pride and walked into a local women's small business center. She met a woman named Diane, a former restaurant owner who now coached first-generation entrepreneurs. Diane found her a shared commercial kitchen space at a fraction of the cost. She helped her refile for a micro-grant. She taught her about margins, branding, and how to tell her story, because your story, the hard parts, the real parts, that's not your liability. That is your greatest marketing asset. 14 months after sleeping on her mother's couch, Sophia's sauces were in 3 local grocery stores. She'd been featured in a regional food blog. She had a waiting list. She signed a lease on a small apartment, hers, just hers, and her children's. The first night there, she made dinner in her own kitchen, and Camilla set the table without being asked. "Her son, Marco," said Grace, and Sophia stood at the stove and felt something she hadn't felt in so long she'd almost forgotten what it was called. She felt proud of herself. Sometimes Sophia pulls out a photo from that dark period, not to feel sad, but to remember, to look that version of herself in the eye and say, "I see you. I know how tired you were. I know how scared. And I want you to know, it was all worth it. Every late night, every rejection, every parking lot breakdown, every jar washed, every label printed, every form filed at midnight. You did not fail. You were becoming. And becoming is always, always harder than arriving." Sophia's story holds 5 truths I want you to carry with you. 1, shame is a liar. Your struggle is not your identity. 2, your gift, the one you've been told isn't practical, might be your exact purpose. 3, the wall is not the end. It's where you find out how creative you really are. 4, community is not a crutch, it's the ladder. 5, and listen closely, pride is not self-respect. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk into a room and say, I need help. The strongest people are not those who carry everything alone. They're the ones who know when to ask and are humble enough to do it. I don't know what your couch is. I don't know what your parking lot breakdown looks like, but I know you have one. I know there's a weight you've been carrying and a voice that's been lying to you. And I know, because Sophia knew, because every person who ever rebuilt their life knew, that somewhere inside you is a gift, a purpose, a fire that hasn't gone out. It's just been waiting for you to stop apologizing for your struggle and start using it as fuel. The roots were never broken, they were just growing deeper. Now it's time to rise.